Good morning.
Good morning. How the hell?
We do not own the copyrights to this music.
I don't know. We gotta write that in there.
Probably will. They flag us.
I feel like this song, "We Gonna Be Alright," is like it's fitting for my whole life, but particularly this weekend just passed and today. I was
already.
Steamy, right now. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Anybody sign in, sign on, whatever. Good morning.
It's early.
Hope y'all doing well. I'm doing all right. Hope the weekend was well. Pride.
Yeah, we're on.
In New York City. Jadyn, Chauvi. All kinds of stuff happening.
We gonna be all right. Alright, we're almost there.
Good vibes, man, early in the morning. We're gonna be all right. Use that 48 because
Oh, man, listen.
Alright,
It's too hot out here.
Man, I'd rather be hot than fucking cold. So I'm working with it. But nah, they said something about this being like historic. Alright, we gonna let you chill. Kendrick. Nah, they said it's like a historic heat wave, right?
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's hot across the country.
Climate change is still real.
I mean, I didn't know it was fake ever. I thought it was always real.
Yeah. The projections are that the warmest day in the summer will become the coolest day in winter.
Yeah, when that's supposed to happen?
Actually, we're talking like 15, 20 years. It's not like way off. Like we hopefully are still alive.
It's a lot closer than I wanted.
Yeah. So that's what's happening this morning. See, we're live. We're here. Good morning to folks that are watching. Drop a good morning if you're with us. Lets us know that all the techie tech stuff is working.
Yeah, we got a few people watching.
Got a couple people watching.
I mean, we just get into our little spiel. I'll start off with. For one, I think you're being really disrespectful right now with that hot ass coffee and this hot ass morning. Like, you should have water. I drank my coffee in my place where it was still cool. It's hot as hell outside. You don't need no more hot coffee.
I had water already this morning. To everyone.
Yeah. I'm sitting down and already sweating.
Yet. Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's quite warm outside. And we decided to come outside anyways because we're on the porch. And this is called on the porch.
I'm not mad about being on the porch. I'm just saying that coffee
because I'm drinking hot coffee.
It's all right.
I'm not the only person in America that drinks hot coffee in the summer. Good morning, Suzanne.
Good morning.
Tell me, talk about my coffee. Like, anyways, don't we have some other stuff we have to talk about while we're on the porch? Aren't there like other things that we're supposed to be paying attention to, like this past weekend?
Yeah.
Which I put my makeup back on just to talk about this past weekend. Not because I'm tired or anything, but because I wanted to.
This past weekend was awesome. Man. Like BLM Pride was really.
Yeah, but even before that.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about BLM Pride right now off the top of my head. Like, that was really, really, it was a good time. Seeing a lot of new faces and all of that. But before that, like you said, we did have the ball, right? We had a good time there. My first ball, first time I ever been to one. It was my first ball, too. Yeah, it was really, watching the categories and the face and into the folks that have been in that work for decades. Like, talk about the history of it. And
good morning to London Precise.
Yeah, London Precise. Yep.
Yeah, House of Precise.
Yep. House of Giovanna.
House of Encore.
House of Encore.
Mother Mia.
It was awesome.
Yes.
It was really a good time, man. And I got to learn a little bit of history, and I got to see something I've never seen before. Yeah, and I'm really thankful for that. Right? I'm really thankful for that. But that's what it looks like. Like going to do, living outside what you're always just comfortable with doing, going to do something different. And I had a really great time with some really great people. So thank y'all for welcoming me, making that space for everyone to be there and have a great time. I look forward to showing up at the next one because that was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. It was held at the Linda. If folks are not familiar, it's at the corner of Quail and Central Ave in Albany. Yeah. And Peter Hughes, who is, I don't know what his title is, Executive Director, Master of Ceremonies, runs the Linda, and was really happy that he was able to completely open the doors.
Yeah.
Right? That we've reached our life in COVID, where we could have more people at the venue, and folks were there and they were dressed up and they were ready to be out. And the entire gambit of not just the LGBTQIA plus community, but allies in that space as well, supporting and having a good time. And I competed. My first time at the ball, and I decided to compete. Julian, thanks for pressing me.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, Julian, really
Julian
pushed you to do it. I'm surprised Julian do it herself. Like they had an opportunity.
They had things they could have done. They could have walked like in any of those categories and done some things. But it was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it next year. To see the costumes, to see the categories. The MC for the night was dope. The judges weren't playing.
Yeah.
If you came looking crazy, they told you.
I wish I remember I can't remember the DJ's name. The MC, I mean. MC. The MC was he whatever he was, whatever like they were, given to be there or whatever how that went. Like
no.
They do their thing.
It was a whole thing. And it was good. And so that was Friday night. And then Saturday, fast forward, right? Mm-hmm. And we get to Black Lives Matter Pride protest because you can't have pride without a protest. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't just a protest. It wasn't like we just showed up in Schenectady and we made a bunch of noise and we did that at the end. But tell the fine folks about the rest of the day.
What, Saturday? I mean, it was a really good time. I mean, I mean, it's from the folks setting up to the volunteers that came through, to people, just the onlookers, people who want to participate. Like it was a really it's another example of what community looks like when they come together to do something, right? Yeah. We had a lot of, like I said, new faces, people I had never seen before show up.
Yep.
We had some amazing young people that showed up there, and performances from Calypso Breeze and More Glamazon were out of this world. I mean, they actually put on a whole like kind of almost like a step routine.
Oh my gosh!
With Queen Michaela, Casey, and them. Like there were wardrobe changes. There was good music.
There was.
I mean, look, it was a lot to witness. I had another really good time. We went on our little march because, like you said, you can't have pride without a protest.
That's
so we
right.
marched down to City Hall.
Yep.
Where we heard from, once again, a new face, a very young person who had just a lot to say, impacted everybody in the crowd. Yeah. I think, with the way she thought about things, the things that they were going through. It really, listen, it was a special day. It was a lot to put together.
That was the first time publicly speaking.
Oh, that's for that they.
Yeah. This young person. We're not saying their name because they're a very young person.
Yeah. But if you were there,
If you were there,
Right.
And they really appreciated being in a space where they felt like they could be their full selves.
Yeah.
Where they actually felt like they had a community, and they talked about not having that and feeling like an outcast and being made fun of and being picked on. And the love that came from everyone there after they spoke, they're like, yo, I'm right here. What do you need? You got a family, you got a community, you're not alone. Because, I mean, many of us know what that feels like to feel as if you have to hide who you are, and that when you do come out as who you are, right? And you no longer are hiding yourself. People treat you differently or treat you as if there's something wrong with you. And this young person was brave to speak on that. And I expected nothing less than the love that was shown.
Yeah.
Because the people that show up at Black Lives Matter Pride protest, it's not about one of us, it's about all of us. All Black lives matter.
Let me tell you something. They were the youngest person, I think, that I heard say those words. They were by far not the only person that I've heard say thank you for this space. I didn't feel welcome other places. I didn't feel this, didn't feel that. Here I feel welcome. And that's what's always inspiring to me. Like to constantly to be able to see that from people. You know what I mean? The change in perspective, the feeling welcome. Like that has an impact that like we won't know what that impact has on a person's life, but I know it's a great impact. Yeah. Right? We don't know exactly where and shift how, but just being welcome in a space, knowing you have place, knowing you have people that care. Yeah. Right? It's a really, really huge deal, man. So
and again, I find this to be a norm for us here in Schenectady. I don't know if you noticed, someone had come up to me. There were homeless people that were there. They just happened to be there and we descended, right? Like they were hanging out and we showed up. They stayed. They didn't leave. Yeah. And one of them came up and spoke to me at the end. And I'm not gonna, go into all that he said, but it made me remember why we do this, right? You never know who's listening. You never know what impact it's going to have on their lives and how it might make them feel as if they can go on tomorrow. And this person just was like, thank you. And they had no intention of being there. They just happened to be there. Yeah. And so we have to just keep making that space where everyone feels welcome. No one feels silenced. No one feels as if they're an outcast or as if something about them makes them unworthy. And then we unite and change all the broken shit. Because there's a lot of broken shit. But yeah, it was a good weekend.
Yeah, it was. It really was. So bless.
Allergies.
So aside from, from being in Pride protest, what else happened this weekend?
I mean, I feel like that's enough, ain't it? Did I miss something? We had the ball. We had the Black Lives Matter Pride protest. We made it through the weekend because we still are living through all of these, systems of injustice. And I think it's important that early on we jump right to what's happening this Wednesday because we are talking about fighting for Black lives and ensuring that we end, that we support people when they need it and fight back against those systems and structures, right? Whether it's in the district attorney's office, if it's with police brutality, whether it's, wherever it shows up, that we do that. And this Wednesday, we have more work to do because for those that don't remember, justice for Jadyn. We've been fighting this battle for what, a year?
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
If folks don't remember, Jadyn is a young Black man who was defending his mother, who was being brutalized, was jumped by 2-3 white people, and she's white as well. And he came to defend her, and he ended up getting arrested. Yeah, and he gets charged, and because of COVID. That was part of the reason, like the court's dates kept getting moved and postponed, but also because Jadyn's not pleading guilty. Yeah, the charges should have never happened in the first place. David Soares, yet again. I mean, who's surprised at this point that David is always looking for an opportunity to criminalize Black folk? And here we are.
I think there's a lack of really care, concern about. About actually looking at the details of the case. We've already seen the folks that assaulted his mom plead guilty to charges. So like, and admitting that, yes, they were doing this to the mom. And then so that obviously triggers the fact that, hey, he has a right to protect his mother, etc. So so on Wednesday, the case is going in front of the judge to be dismissed. And
it needs to be dismissed.
It needs to be dismissed. And, you know, we would like the community to be there in support of Jadyn once again.
At 1 o'clock.
And yeah, because the DA could have dismissed these charges themselves, right?
A long time
ago. But right now they haven't pushed back against this being sent in front of the judge for them to make a decision on it. And we'll see what happens. But we want to make sure that Jadyn has support that they need.
The same support,
you know what I mean? Same support that we've been doing for some time, so that he gets this case dismissed. The man is off in college somewhere right now. He'll be back down for the case. He reached out to us last week, and said, "Hey, we're back on for court finally. The 30th at 1 p.m. So yeah, be there." And
so it's the same courthouse in Albany on Morton,
yes.
right?
Yes.
There's always an inside and an outside game, and we need to make sure that our presence, feels our presence outside, recognizes that people are watching, that people are paying attention, and that the DA recognizes that people are continuing to pay attention, not just to this case, but to all cases, because, you know, that's how he is. If for some reason you don't have the details about what's happening, and you want to make sure that you get it by email, you can join our email list, 2021, all of us. It's on the screen right now on the YouTube channel and on Facebook.
Yeah.
Make sure you stay up to date on actions and stuff that are coming up. You know, I always have to do that. But yeah, talk about David Soares and kind of his track record of what justice looks like for David.
I mean, like I just said a second ago, there's a real, from the office, from the man himself, it seems to be a lack of real care and concern about, you know, community engagement, about actual justice, about understanding, I think, sometimes the context of how things happen. You know, we want him to, you know, we want that office and himself to dismiss the charges against Jadyn. We also want to dismiss the charges against the R Street abolitionists, right? That's still a thing.
That's still a
thing. And that's something that we need to talk about. And I'm reaching out to other community organizers, the rest of the community, to make that demand of David Soares that he drops all the charges against the R Street abolitionists, the folks that were out there, that, you know, had to occupy in front of the South Station, that were, you know, ripped away from that scene, given these unnecessary charges.
Property destroyed.
And the lie told that somehow they'd be able to reclaim property. I mean, I don't know if anyone reclaimed property yet, but I do know that they took all that property, threw it in the back of what looked like a dump truck, and hauled it off.
Yeah.
Scooped everything up and just threw it in the back of a dump truck. I don't know what property was destroyed. Most of it probably was. I don't know how anyone's going to identify what their belongings are. What are they going through? A pile of junk?
Pile.
I'll just wait before you say that. I just want to listen. There was an Occupy in Albany some years ago, right?
Yep.
Right out front of City Hall in that park.
Mm-hmm.
They came through and swept that away too, after months, right, of it being there.
Yep.
The charges that were levied against those activists were dismissed.
By David.
They were dismissed. They were dismissed by the DA's office.
David Soares.
They did not pursue charges. They left it alone. They understood why, they claimed to understand why people were there, and that this was in the best interest of justice and in the community.
Yep.
That's what we're saying now. Why is this different? You understand what I'm saying? There were some persons of color at that Occupy, but the majority of that group were not persons of color, right?
Yep.
The majority of the group, the majority of the group on our street were persons of color.
Yes.
That's the only real difference that I see at this point.
Yeah.
And you're talking about chalk in an encampment, fighting against systems and structures.
Yeah.
Why is there a difference? There is an opportunity, I think, for the office to drop those charges now. And we just want the community to have a voice heard in this. And I'm reaching out to y'all and the organizations out here to make sure we're pushing those demands. We did that up front, but what we're seeing is that's falling on deaf ears, and we need to do more.
Yeah, there's always an opportunity if you live in Albany County, not just of Albany. You can go to the district and say, drop the charges, David, and be specific. Say, drop the charges against the Arch Street abolitionists.
Yes.
Drop the charges against Jadyn, and really fight for the best interests of justice, which David Soares says from time to time. And he has even said in the past, well, I will choose not to pursue charges because the harm that has already been done is more than what any, sentence would bring. That's what he said about Elazar Williams being paralyzed for the rest of his life, that he wouldn't proceed with charges against him because being paralyzed for the rest of his life was more severe than any, sentence he would befall. Well, David, since you seem to be so generous from time to time, the amount of property that was destroyed and damaged, the physical and emotional trauma that they went through when they were arrested, especially the transgendered individuals that were dead named and really just not treated the way they're supposed to under law.
Yeah.
If you're looking for how is it that justice prevails, besides the fact, all the points that Sean already said, you have all kinds of reasons to drop these charges. People continue to say drop the charges. It's not something new. It's not necessary. I mean, we also saw it with the case for Yasmin.
Yeah.
David says that he's here for the Black community and he's here for the people and he's here for justice.
Does he ever say he's here for the Black community, though? I don't think I ever heard him say he's here for the Black community. Like, what I hear David Soares say a lot, and he may have said it. I'm not saying he hasn't,
I might be putting words in his mouth.
What I do hear him say a lot is that he's here for all the entire community, that he represents everybody.
Yeah.
And a lot of the folks in the Black community that he represents are victims. That's what he says.
You're right.
I represent those victims in the Black community, not the perpetrators of the crime.
Right.
Which doesn't. The problem. One of the things he doesn't understand is that those people that are perpetuate crime or that are been charged with something, allegations, are oftentimes victims of crime themselves, or victims, period.
Yeah.
Not just of crime, but of the system itself.
And David has proven that he's capable of looking at individuals as whole human beings and making a determination about how they could best move forward to change their behavior and still re-enter society. He did it with a police officer who was on video brutalizing someone. And he's what is it? That as long as he goes to therapy for a year or two.
They allowed him to plead guilty to misdemeanor charges, I believe. As long as he gets therapy for a year, he can take his plea back and plead this, to a violation. Therefore, he won't have a record. The consequence of which is that without a record, he can always apply to be a police officer somewhere else. So
that doesn't look like accountability to me. If someone is a police officer and they brutalize someone while on duty, accountability to me looks like they can never be a police officer again. Not that they can't provide for their families, right? No. They're still human beings. They should have a roof over their heads and all those things and be given, well, I don't know about an opportunity. Anyways, not for the rest of their lives. They can not be a police officer so that at least they can't be in that role. They can't have that kind of power and to abuse and abuse people. That's what accountability looks like, David. So if you prevent a cop who has brutalized people from ever being a cop again, that's accountability. If you prevent a bus monitor from ever being a bus monitor again after she beat and called a young disabled Black girl all kinds of names outside her name, prevent them from ever being a bus monitor again, that's accountability.
Yeah.
I think that brings us to our next topic, actually. What about you? In the news.
Yeah, no, I actually thought we were going to talk about that a little bit earlier, but I mean, it's all in line with the same. I mean, we're still talking about the justice system.
Yeah.
Right? It's not really a separate conversation. So everyone knows that Chauvin, the murder of George Floyd, was sentenced to 20 plus years in prison. There's a lot of thoughts and feels about what that was, about what that means.
Ooh, I didn't even spell his name. I called him David instead of Derek. Look at me.
Yeah, you're thinking about it. You know what? You crossed David Soares
and Derek Chauvin.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I'm sure everyone can understand that.
Yeah. Nah, but, you know, what does that mean to be sentenced to 20 plus years in prison for murder as a police officer? What does that actually mean? What kind of justice is that? I think that's the question that a lot of people answer. There's a lot of people like, yo, we should have got way more time. Some people are like, you know, if somebody black did it, they would have got, you know, they would have got this or that or whatever. That's what the justice system offers. Take that person and lock them away and put them in a jail, and we don't have to see them anymore. And then, you know, the problem for me. I mean, what do you think about it? I'll let you speak. What do you think about it?
This actually was a conversation we had last year. CBS 6 interviewed me, if you remember, talking about we need to be able to have some type of system and some type of accountability and some type of justice. And we do talk about it a lot, that currently the system that we have, that is your option. Yeah. If somebody commits a crime, which is subjective and based on societal norms, which are based on white supremacy and capitalism, if they don't do what they should do, put them in a cage and then abuse them for their labor. Take them from the community and then give them a scarlet letter for the rest of their life, regardless of like the magnitude of the crime. I personally feel as if there's very little difference outside of sex offenses, because I feel as if those are treated differently, and that's a completely different topic we're not getting into today. That if you have been in prison, you come out and people just say, oh, you were in prison. And there's no question about who you are now versus who you were then. There's no chance for you growing and learning and being a different person. And that it's never ended crime. We have more people in cages than any other country in the world.
Yep.
But it's not ended crime. As a matter of fact, I saw a meme that talked about the fact that there were no jails or prisons when this land was held by indigenous people. That if someone needed a blanket, they didn't have to steal it because it was given to them. If someone was homeless, they were, you know, the community worked to make sure the needs of the individual were fulfilled.
Yeah.
And that members of the society were not cast out forever. Our current system of justice does not work, but it is the only one that most people know and can think of and are told. We are told every day, this is the way it's supposed to be. If someone does something wrong, lock them away. It makes us safer. It never has made us safer.
I want to challenge you on that a little bit.
Okay.
Because in all reality, you know, we have a system of justice here, but that system is split because the same way that system works in, you know, East Flatbush, Brooklyn, or Hamilton Hill or Arbor Hill isn't the same way it works in other communities.
That's true.
Right?
Yep.
So in other communities, even though the system is there, officers are there, prosecutors are there, there is a huge, I think, gap in treatment of those communities.
Yes.
Right? There's a difference. So we have the same system, but it's meted out differently.
Yes.
You dig?
Yeah.
So where more opportunity and chance is given to one community, right? Less opportunity and chance is given to another. And remember, we're talking about, you know, the large portion of crimes that are committed or reported are crimes of need, right? They're crime.
Larceny.
What is it? Yeah, that's what we looked up the other day. It was larceny. Was the majority of the crime that officers responded to.
Yep.
Was larceny.
Yep.
Right. The majority of crimes where people are incarcerated for are not violent offenses.
Yeah.
Right. They're not quote unquote violent offenses, because even something that's called a violent offense isn't always a violent offense. In the way that we think of violence, actually hurting someone.
Right. Right. There's no physical harm to the individual.
Exactly. But I want to think about like Chauvin and being sentenced to 20 years, and what that focus looks like. Because when we lock up the person, we are pointing to the person as the problem. We're not thinking about the entire system in place that allowed that person or allowed that behavior to happen in the first place. Allow someone to be that so comfortable in that role. Yeah. You think that's the first time that he's done that?
No.
Of course not.
No.
It's just the other folks survived.
Yep.
You think he's the first one on the force to do that in Minneapolis or anywhere in the country? Of course not. It's just either those weren't caught on film, or the person survived and wasn't reported, or whatever, any other way it could have happened. So what my point is, like, our system points at the individual as the problem.
Yeah.
And incapacitates that person, takes them out of society. That's the old system of punishment.
Yep.
Right? We're gonna punish you. We're gonna incapacitate you, take you out, and this is somehow gonna act as a deterrent for you and others, and it hasn't worked yet. And it does never take a look at the larger systems in place that actually create the conditions to which that happens.
And I'm sure, well, I'm not sure, but based on the testimony and the news coverage, the family wanted him locked away. And for that family, that is on them about what they need to be able to move forward in their lives without question. It doesn't change anything for the rest of the country. Not a single thing. Just by that one man being locked away. It is historic because there are so few cases where an officer is, one, brought to the grand jury and then proceeds to trial, let alone to then be convicted, right? Like, it happens so infrequently that it's like, oh my gosh, this actually happened. I have no belief that it's going to make any other officer go, oh, well, I can't do that anymore because I might end up like him, because that has never worked for any other crime that happened in America.
Yeah.
Oh, that person went to jail for doing that? Well, I'm not doing that. No, it's just, like you said, it's not happened. And as a matter of fact, here in the Capital District, we are seeing the pendulum swing back the other way.
Yeah.
That instead of really being committed to the safety of the community from policing, they're like, no, we need more police. And they use fear. And, during an election, someone mentioned this, you want to use scare tactics to get people to come out and vote. That's great. Schenectady added need to head holds back into its use of force policy. Even though Chief Clifford said it was never removed, that's a lie. It was removed. Need a head and need a neck was removed last year after Yogeshwar was caught on film being abused by a police officer. I guess that's the other part I want to point out. And I know we're taking up a lot of time, but I think it's worth it. We've seen that it takes very specific and like a huge amount of like evidence for this to happen. For a police officer to go to trial and be convicted, you need enough witnesses. It needs to be on video. It has to have certain angles. You have to have other police officers willing to speak against that cop. Like, all of the different factors that made it possible, as opposed to believing the victims, right?
It's a much higher threshold. It is obviously it's a double standard. It's different between how a regular resident is dealt with and a police officer. I mean, I think everyone knows that. It's an obvious kind of thing. I don't think people take the next step to say, well, why is that? Why is it that we're going through all this trouble, or not? I wouldn't say trouble, but taking all these precautionary steps to ensure that we're doing the right thing here
to protect the officer.
To protect, to make sure that this person that's a police officer is given, all their rights and due process and et cetera, and nothing is left unturned to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And why isn't that the same consideration given to regular residents? I mean, that's the way this thing is gone for so long. And I'm feeling like, as I talk about this more and more, and we talk about defund the police and invest in communities, the invest in communities piece gets lost. People talk about this angle, like defund, getting rid of the police. We'll get rid of the entire department and move them out of the society, and then everyone's being unsafe. The fear mongering that you're talking about, and everyone's somehow unsafe, and they're forgetting about the investment in communities. The investment in communities that would actually change a lot of the interactions, not only with that department, but amongst community members themselves, right? There's opportunity to do that now. There's a lot of money that's coming into our communities.
Oh my goodness.
And that focus has to be. That's something that I'm down to make sure that we're championing. We're having for sure, because there's a lot of money coming to the capital region.
That we could create new systems.
And
supports and programs. Removing the police doesn't mean that there's no accountability. Removing the police doesn't mean that that's safety. It means that change safety accountability looks like. And it's reimagining how we act with each other.
Yeah.
And not just saying, you hurt me, put you in a cage.
I mean, that's a system that I think that we should do our best. It's an easy system that's been invested so much in. It's not
billions of dollars.
It's not policing. Trillions. If you're talking about the generations of this, right? Like if we're talking about within the from the crime bill of '94 to today, how much money in the militarization of our police force and the building of more and more and more prisons have gone in. So I'm talking about the country. Yeah. But it's a constant thing. Like in all the collateral kind of markets that feed that. Yep. Right. Yeah. From food to clothing to insurances to
phone calls,
to contracting to phone calls to the vehicles to everything. Yeah. Right. There's a lot of money. It's a huge investment. It's not going to be swept up overnight.
It's going to take a lot of time. And Alex is right. It's up to us to put the whole system on trial. Yep. Right. Low known fact, Schenectady, 151 years. That's when the Schenectady Police Force was founded. It was 150 years in 2020, but they couldn't celebrate it because of COVID. So they're celebrating it now. 150 years, the Schenectady Police Department. And no, I'm not happy about it. You won't see me celebrating. Even though blue has been my color, it's not for them.
Nah, I'm sure it's not. No. Yeah, I mean, it's 150 years. Some of the practices, some of the ideas, some of the mindsets that that practice is rooted in are still exist today, obviously. And I mean, I think the simpler thing for me, the invest in communities part is what is utmost importance right now. Like I really am feeling like with these tens of millions of dollars that are coming to our communities, it is the prime opportunity. We just talked about the Republicans and Democrats on the federal level, Congress striking a deal on infrastructure. The trillions of dollars, like there's huge piles of money and opportunity coming to communities. What do you mean it won't sign?
Unless it includes childcare and education.
Yeah. You didn't catch the part of the news where he was like, "Oh no, I really intend to make sure this infrastructure thing gets passed, and I intend to I'm going to do that."
So he folded.
That's the follow-up.
Okay.
So just to be clear,
thanks, Biden.
There was a follow-up.
That's great.
Which they were actually talking on the news this morning. I watched the news.
I didn't have my coffee yet.
Oh, and you had it in the heat. Actually, it's cooling down.
It is a little bit, so it feels good.
So no, but my point is that there's a huge amount of money coming here, and we have to make sure that that's directed at these communities that are most impacted. We talk about Hamilton Hill being one of the poorest communities in the state. Yeah. Arbor Hill, not that different. Yeah. Right.
Sheridan Hollow, South Bend.
Yes, there is more than enough. This is the opportunity that I'm not going to miss it for anything.
To create jobs and training.
Jobs, training, education, that target the communities
poor
in most need.
And Black communities.
Yep.
Which actually there was a bill that was turned into law at the state level around green energy. Yeah. That says you have to do this. So what is Schenectady, Albany, Troy, Saratoga doing to ensure that poor folks and Black folks are getting the skills and job training necessary to be able to get the jobs, right? GE wind turbines is a real possibility. We signed on in support of that fight to ensure that we get job training, that we get the GE wind turbines, and that those jobs stay local here in the Capital District, especially in Schenectady. Yes. So how's the city of Schenectady going to make sure that there is a program using the billions of dollars that are coming into New York State to ensure that it is equitably going towards the impact of COVID? Because that's what the money's supposed to be for. Yeah. So that means poor and Black communities have to get support to get out of the situation they're in.
It is an absolute
Gary. Gary
this
McCarthy.
is like, I want to say we're in a situation that is likely once in a lifetime. To be at the head of this much money coming into the community, after what we went through, and still are still going through with the ramifications of 2020.
Yep.
We have, not only do we have the money that's coming in, we have the focus of the community that are on, I think, much of the need, like, the most marginalized, impacted, and impoverished communities. Like, we're thinking about that.
Yeah.
That is like these ideas, like it's not like this is a stretch to talk about why these communities already are and the history of it. Nope. Like the TU just did this great article about redlining and how communities were kept impoverished and all of that. Like, so the focus is there. We, other organizations, the rest of the community have to make sure that our representatives are focusing that money in the areas that are in extreme need.
And local unions are in support.
Yes, they are.
They're in support of making sure that there are jobs and job training for these communities. So, Gary McCarthy, Madden, I never remember his first name, all the folks that are about to have large sums of money, do the right thing, actually ask the people to ensure that they have jobs that are livable wages, that they get training necessary, paid training, pre-apprenticeships to get into skills and trades that will be lifelong careers. Mm-hmm. So it's not just, I got this job and now there's nothing else I can do. People want to work. No one's lazy. Well, not no one. Most people are not lazy.
Yeah, but the myth of that idea of someone being lazy is
we know.
It's to justify all this other crap that happens. This is no one's fucking. People want to be able to take care of themselves. People want to be able to take care of themselves. People want to have a livable wage. People want to be able to have things, right? They aspire to a better life. Most people, I would say, that I've met aspire to a better life.
If Mayor McCarthy does not move forward with a plan that includes skills and training that targets poor and Black communities in the city of Schenectady, he should not serve another term. I mean, there's lots of reasons he shouldn't serve another term anyways. Well, he's not changed the economics in this city. He's not. So
he's changing for some. They're just not the folks that was directly impacted.
No, he maintained it for those.
I mean, you look at certain areas in the city compared to others, you're just like, that gap between wealth that wealth gap is increasing.
Oh my gosh, I can't.
I mean, it's listen, it's something that I'm here to make sure that a lot of those funds go, in the places that are needed. I'm here to continue to have that conversation. I'm here to reach out to the community members. I have connects with, several organizations around economic opportunities and education opportunities. And I'm just looking forward to what all these conversations look like and for those conversations to bear fruit, because we need this. It's too much money. It's too big of a deal. Yeah. This got to happen. If it'd be a shame.
Yeah.
It'd be a shame.
Ibrahim says, Black and Green Workers Alliance coming soon. Black folks making a green labor future. I mean, let's think about the fact that, and I were just talking about the fact that farm workers were really the leaders of climate justice here in this country, but we can't talk about that right now because.
You know my name?
No.
Dolores.
Yes.
Dolores Huertas.
That was her name. That is her name, because she's still alive and still doing the work.
Yeah.
But it's not just local legislators who are not doing the job that they are supposed to do for the people. Let's end with this. Our friend, Andy Cuomo. What's he not doing now?
I mean, what we need him to do is to sign these bills that have been passed by both the Assembly and the Senate, including less is more. Less is more is the bill that will go a long way to ending mass supervision. There are 35,000 people in New York State that are on some sort of a role of state supervision. Less is more allows those folks that, incentivizes, good conduct. It gives, an end or restricts the use of technical violations to incarcerate people, and it gives people real opportunity to be successful. It kind of takes the guillotine away from over people's heads and allows them to be more of their full selves and just look for opportunity. It's not a pass to just go out in the community and commit more crimes, which is nonsense in the first place. It's an opportunity for folks to actually be successful by not having the threat of reincarceration constantly over their head, and it takes away some discretion of parole to do so. So it's a huge bill, along with others that need to be signed in the law.
So you mean including that when you do good things, you get good time?
That's right.
Right. So
if you're doing what you're supposed to do, there's no need for us to continue to spend a bunch of money to keep you on supervision. Why are we, filling the salaries, the benefits, the overhead, all of that to keep you on supervision? But you're doing the right thing. If you're doing the right thing, go ahead, continue to do the right thing. Yeah. We want you to be successful. That's what the bill says.
Yep.
More than anything, we want you to be successful, not unsuccessful. We don't want to be the obstacle to your success.
Yeah. If there are other bills that you know of that Andy needs to sign, you can feel free to drop them in the chat, drop them in the comments, do those things. Let other folks know that there's other pieces of legislation, because there's quite a few, and this isn't new. Andy does this all the time. I mean, I don't know what his day looks like. I mean, I know what his day doesn't look like. I know he's not granting clemency to anyone. I know that there are elders sitting in cages.
There's just so much,
Andy.
There's so much that we could talk about with what's not happening with our state government, and it's really, it's the complexity of this work, right? Okay. There's an entire world of problems, right?
It takes all of us.
There's an entire world of problems, and it literally takes all of us to address them. But it's like, I could sit here and talking about the fact that fair and timely didn't pass.
Which makes no sense.
The elder parole didn't pass.
No sense.
That clemency has not been granted. That the fact that Governor Cuomo granted more clemencies to people before COVID than during COVID and up to today.
Yep. Yeah.
Says you took no consideration about the lives that were potentially lost. And the opportunity that clemency afforded the governor to get people out of harm's way.
And people died of COVID in prison. Yeah. That did not have to.
People that had demonstrated for decades the kind of mindset, attitude, with receipts, right?
Yeah.
That they were ready out here in our community again. It just says a lot about what the governor, and not just the governor, but those in power, it says a lot about what their perspectives are. When it comes to the little guy, it comes to the person, they're not here for that.
No, they're here for capitalism.
And
the big C word. It's a dirty word. It starts with C. It's not the one you think it is. It's more than 4 letters. Capitalism is the dirty word.
So look, man, this is a pretty warm, moist. That's for Casey. Moist. I don't know. I still don't know what the hell they be talking about, but apparently it's an issue with him. It's been a warm morning.
Like that word. He doesn't like
and
that word.
I'm thankful to be on this call to have this conversation again.
Yeah.
Let's get some stuff done.
Every Monday, our email will go out later today with reminders about what's coming up, things to look for, be involved. We need more people to be a part of this work. We need more resources. We need more talent. We need more skills. We need more voices, because the opposition has the foundation. We are fighting back against hundreds of years of systems and structures that have embedded itself, that are the foundation of this country, and that infect us globally. And so if we cannot continue to grow our masses, if we cannot continue to reach more people and be inclusive and work collectively together with different groups and organizations and individuals, it's going to take a lot longer.
Yeah, the time is now.
Time is now.
Keep that sense of urgency. We'll keep having these conversations. We'll keep reaching out. We'll keep letting you know what's going on in the community. We're here for it. Justice for Jadyn. Don't forget.
Wednesday, 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
See you there. Yeah, but remember, especially today, drink water. You're going to need a lot. even if you're inside. Just drink water.
All right.
Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We'll see you later.